And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Woodlawn Station with Colin McGee. I'm Chris Gambino, and from one really uneventful show last week, or I think it was last week, we were talking about Matt Carpenter. Really, right? That was last week. To this week, where we have actually a packed show and three different sports to talk about. But starting probably with the biggest news in sports, the World Baseball Classic, which has been really, really eventful and really fun so far. The group stage, the pool stage is complete. We know who's going through the quarterfinals and who's been eliminated. And we're going to start very simply, and probably the majority of this discussion, probably all of it, is going to be about Pool B, which is the group the United States is in, along with Mexico and Italy. Great Britain and Brazil are also in this, but really, those two aren't really worth discussing. They were pretty. They were pretty much rollovers for the top three. But the U.S. is advancing, but they come second in Pool B to Italy. Italy 4-0 in pool play, and including a win against the United States. This all-star, star-studded team: Aaron Judge, Bryce Harper, Tarek Skubal, Paul Skeens, comes in second to a group of Italian American players. Now, what I will say is, in that win, I think we'll start with that game. Um, it's not as shocking as people are making it out to be. It was disappointing for us rooting for the United States, but people calling this a miracle, one of the craziest things to ever happen in sports or in baseball. I don't see it personally. We're having the World Cup this summer in the United States. If Team USA or the U.S. men's national team beats, let's say, Spain, who are, I think, the favorites to win the World Cup, that is one of the greatest stories in American sports history. That is shocking because that is a group of Spanish players from a country that is one of the greatest soccer countries in the world losing to the U.S. men's national team, which, apart from U.S. being soccer being popular in this country, the U.S. men's national team historically is not that great. That would be something we remember for generations. This is not that. This is a group of major league players that beat a group of major league players. I equate this to the Dodgers losing to the Cincinnati Reds or the San Francisco Giants, because Team Italy was, again, just a group of major league players. Michael Lorenzen started this game for Italy, and he is a notable major league pitcher. Even though his ERA was near 5 last year, and even though he's pitching for the Rockies this season, on any given day, Michael Lorenzen is capable of striking out Aaron Judge. He's capable of getting Bryce Harper or Roman Anthony or Pete Crow Armstrong, even though Crow Armstrong had 2 home runs in this game. So it's not the most shocking thing in the world. Looking back on it, especially because Team USA is advancing, it's actually kind of funny. And I wouldn't say I'm too connected to Team Italy because, again, it is, these guys are just American players who are essentially rejects from the American team that were like, you know what, screw it, we're just going to play for Team Italy instead. And really, when you look at the Team USA, Roman Anthony is Italian. He could qualify to play for Team Italy, but was really the only one who was good enough to qualify for Team USA. So I wouldn't say I feel too connected with Team Italy. Like I wasn't really rooting for them, but I also wasn't rooting against them, and it is pretty funny. And being that both are moving on, I can enjoy this. But yeah, Colin, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, to me, at least with that game, like you said, I do agree on the aspect that there are major league players versus major league players. It's obviously when you think about guys who are respectable MLB starters versus all-stars, that's when you start obviously seeing the talent discrepancy. But I think to me, the biggest story from that game was how Mark DeRosa didn't know that they already weren't in the quarterfinals. He thought that they already clinched. And I just don't see how that happens. Like, could you imagine if Mexico won that game and then USA was eliminated, and that soundbite of Mark DeRosa would have haunted American baseball for the next 3 or 4 years till the next WBC. I mean, it's unbelievable how that happened. I just don't see how you can be the manager. You can go out there with, well, let's face it, the best collection of talent of players in this tournament in the world, really, and you make that mistake. That's unexcusable to me.
I totally agree. And he came out today actually and said something like, "Oh, it was taken out of context." Regardless, he also, the way he managed the game against Italy was as if it was a throwaway game. And it's not starting Nolan McLean. It's warming up Clayton Kershaw. It's bringing in Ryan Yarbrough, who, even though we like him on the Yankees, he's going to be the 5th starter for the Yankees. He shouldn't be pitching in a must-win game for Team USA. He should be pitching in more of a mop-up role, more of a backup role, a back of the bullpen type of role. I think he should be fired regardless if Team USA wins this tournament or not. Just because, again, historically, Team USA, again, this tournament, like I said last week, it's not the World Cup. It's not. It is. I wouldn't say it's an exhibition. These players take it seriously, but it's just not. It's not the World Cup. And I think we're actually getting a phone call from a special guest, Dominic Noto, and Dominic Noto is with us. But Dominic, I'll give this right to you right now. I'm saying I think Mark DeRosa should be fired. Team USA historically, Joe Torre, Jim Leland is the manager. They go to Mark DeRosa, who makes a huge mistake like this. I think regardless of his outcome, he should be fired, Dom.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they really have I don't know if it really works that way. I mean, they're not going to fire him for the rest of the tournament. I think you just kind of ride it out and then.
Oh yeah.
Say, thank you so much for your
exactly
for your service.
exactly.
You're not coming back next year. Yeah, I mean, I think DeRosa, very questionable. Like, I have nothing against the guy, but he doesn't seem cut out to be a manager. If you're doing things like that and approaching any game in a tournament like this with as little passion as they are, and I'll go even a step further, not calling for anyone to get fired, but I don't want the Team USA to win anymore. I don't really care because they don't care. Nobody on that team cares. They half the team has already left to go to spring training and ramp up for the season. Matthew Boyd had the decision, had the opportunity to stay pitching for the team or be the opening day starter for the Cubs that are probably not even going to may scrape into the playoffs. And he chose to go to spring training. So, I mean, it speaks volumes for the mentality of this team that they would, beat Mexico and stay up until 2 a.m. when they have a game the day before. And then the manager is clearly disoriented during the game and doesn't know who needs to go in when, and has Ryan Yarbrough pitching. And now Ryan Yarbrough's not even on the team. Clayton Kershaw's not on the team. It's like a mess. And they got gifted a win by an Italy team, they advanced off a gift because Team Italy, which was a much better team, I think, than people gave them credit for. And obviously now, as hindsight is 2020, but obviously now you can say that. But I think before they were better. I did talk about this. I don't know if it got cut out on one of the episodes, but I did say they were good. So I want to go on the record saying that I
remember.
First. Anyways, I mean, I am rooting for Team Italy. Like if it's Team Italy versus Team USA, it's very clear that Team Italy actually wants to win. And I think a lot of, rooting for a team is like, if they don't care if they win or not, why should I care? Like they very clearly are mailing it in. Like they mailed in the game against Italy. And they almost did come back, but could you imagine if they were trying that full game? Like, listen, should Team USA win? Will they do they have a very good chance of winning the tournament? Yeah, I mean, I think their path to a championship game is a lot easier than Team Italy's is. They're gonna have to face. I think Team Italy has to face Venezuela, and then they have to face the winner of, or maybe it's Korea. I don't know, but they definitely have to face Japan if they advance. So I mean, it's just not really a great part of the bracket to be on, to tell you the truth. Italy, I mean, they're going to have a little bit of a hard time, but as we've seen, a team that really cares and comes together, like what we've seen with Team Japan in prior years, can definitely win this tournament. It's such a gauntlet of a tournament where it's one game playoffs now, so anything can happen. And I guess I just want to go on record saying that I'm not pro Team USA anymore. And I didn't think I would say that. I mean, I knew they didn't care before, but really now it's like so obvious that they don't care.
I can't say if I'm fully rooting against them. I will say the only player on the team who I think cares is Paul Skeens. I don't know if you read that letter that he wrote the other day.
Skeens absolutely does care.
He's the only one I think who cares. I don't really think Aaron Judge does.
I think Judge cares.
I don't know.
I think Skeens cares, and
maybe Pete Crow Armstrong.
The team is so good. Like we saw them playing like just like, do you see the play that Bobby Witt made?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that was great.
Going to his right, diving, throwing up, getting Kirk at first. That was an incredible play. One of the best plays I think I've seen a shortstop make. Like, the team is so talented up and down. So, like, me going on record saying, like, I hope they lose, like, it's an uphill battle. Like, they might very well win, and we might all forget about Mark DeRosa's mess up here. But, you know, this is just, like, the cardinal sin of doing a throw game, you know, like what we like to call as Boone's, like his B lineup in the throw games that he has in like series. Like, this is exactly something the Yankees would do. They played like the Yankees and they lost like the Yankees would have lost.
Mm-hmm.
Like but this is the difference is that this is a tournament where it's very important to win every game. And the fact that he didn't even know that this game had impact on his odds of advancing it's not even just his fault. It's everybody on the team's fault. How did no one, because even I thought they advanced, but I'm not in the room. How do you not, as a team, you know, you have how many guys on that roster, plus how many coaches, plus how, like, whoever's doing in charge of, like, player, like, general, like, whoever's advising them, like, you have that many people in the room, and not a single one of them said after he had that interview, no, this game matters. This game matters because if you lose, then you don't control your own destiny. Because they almost got bounced. I mean, Team Italy pulled away very quickly, but you know they could very well be eliminated by now. And you know you have to tip your cap to Team Italy, but at the same time, you know that was their own. They made their bet and they almost lost. You know. Because of their own stupidity.
I mean, yeah, just you kind of covered it well yourself. It just once again feels like the idea of playing down to your competition and taking teams for granted. Because when you think about the tournament, obviously, I mean, I'm already seeing like reports about how, oh, if we get a U.S. Dominican Republic semifinal, it's going to be Paul Skeens versus the DR. And it's like, once again, you weren't able to beat Italy. You have to get by Canada first. And I know, obviously, the USA is a better roster than Canada. They should beat Canada. But it just goes back to that aspect of how, obviously, after they beat Mexico, they already thought they were in the next round. So they just lay down and treat Italy like it's a nothing burger. And once again, they're probably in their heads already thinking about playing the Dominican Republic, playing Japan. You can't do that. You can't take any opponent for granted, especially in a tournament like this. Let's face it, a lot of the guys on this Canada team, this could be really the crowning achievement of their careers if they take down this USA team. So I guarantee you tomorrow night, Canada's not going to come and play easy, especially seeing as how much talk there was after what happened in the Olympics between USA and Canada and hockey. Can you imagine how much of a retaliation it would be for Canada to beat us in baseball?
It would be something. And you know what? Canada's not the worst roster. They're not that. They're really pretty good. They have some young players. Owen Casey's on that team from the Cubs. I think Freddie Freeman's playing for them, right? I could be wrong. Freddie Freeman. I don't know if they have.
In the past, I think he's eligible.
I don't know if they. I don't know if they have Nick Pivetta starting, but they have.
This is the problem is you don't get to see enough of. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, you're good.
You don't get to see enough of the other games that aren't Team USA.
Yeah.
Because Fox is so terrible, and they don't. Like last night, they were playing the Team Italy versus Team Mexico, and then they weren't showing DR versus Venezuela. And I forget what they were showing, but it was like a random TV show. They were just running a rerun of something.
I remember.
They don't even care. And the MLB doesn't care.
It sucks because, again, I've said constantly, this is not near the World Cup, but this is actually a really fun tournament. And Canada actually, again, it's not the best roster, but like Italy, it's a bunch of notable.
It's not terrible.
It's not terrible. The U.S. should destroy this team if they try, but it's a bunch of actual major league players.
You have the Naylor brothers. You have Tyler O'Neill. You have, I mean, I'm not sure who's going to be eligible to pitch for them in this game, but you have Jamison Tyone, you have Cal Quantrill, Logan Allen. I mean, James Paxton. These are all guys who have had success in this league. So it's like, once again, like, obviously you're the United States of America. You have the best players in the world, but at the end of the day, MLB players beat MLB players all the time.
Yeah, and this is not to mention Canada actually was almost eliminated. They beat Puerto Rico and Cuba back-to-back games to actually win their pool. So they're technically, quote unquote, going to be the home team in this game. And they do have to Jamison Tyone, as you mentioned. So it's a solid little team, but they got to take this game seriously. And I think they should win, but they got to take it seriously. Back to Team Italy, who are, in my opinion, the best story in this tournament. I totally agree with you. I didn't feel anything after they beat the U.S. because I wanted the U.S. to win that game. But after that, I think it was Wayne Randazzo who had a tweet basically saying how, baseball was the bridge for Italian Americans coming here. And I wouldn't know. I don't know if I'd go that far because again, I think essentially every guy on that Team Italy team would. I think Kyle Teal. Let's take Kyle Teal for example. He would 100% would have taken the U.S. starting job at catcher if they didn't already have Cal Raleigh and Will Smith, right, over Team Italy. I think all these guys would have. I think Pete Alonso was waiting for the call to go to team, or not that he was waiting for the call to go to Team USA, but he got the call from Team Italy after not getting something from Team USA and rejected the call from Team Italy for personal reasons. So it's like, I think most of these guys are waiting for that call from the US before Team Italy, but still, they all came together. They love their Italian heritage. They play for it, and you could see they want to win. They really want to win this tournament. They wanted to prove something to the world. Vinny Pasquantino with 3 home runs. Aaron Nola looked filthy, and if Italy pulls off an upset here and makes it to the final, he would get the ball in the final. I don't know if they'd make it that far, but they have the passion. And Jake Peavy was a major league pitcher. He said it. I think he said it well on one of the post games that he played for the 2014 Giants, the San Francisco Giants, who weren't that great of a roster, but they just got hot at the right time. That's usually what happens. So they're playing Puerto Rico. After that would be a really tough matchup if they do beat Puerto Rico against either Venezuela or Japan. But this Team USA, it's Team Italy, is they're talented, they're very young, and they're hungry.
I will say though, it's a very limited tournament. Like historically, I think how many tournaments I think we had? Maybe 5.
Yeah.
So really, what we've seen in the past is the cream rising to the top. It's a lot of Team Japan, a lot of Team USA, or Team USA, Dominican Republic.
Mhm.
Like, these are always the powerhouses. These are the teams that you expect to win. We haven't really had a Cinderella story go the distance, and it's not like March Madness where it seems impossible for a more unheralded team to make it. This is a short tournament. Really, emphasis on if the team gets hot at the right time, they can absolutely make it all the way. And I think we're seeing that with Team Italy. Maybe we look stupid, or maybe they don't make it that far. But I think in this tournament, it's very well designed for that to happen. So I mean, it hasn't happened in the past, but it could happen here. You never know.
That'd be nice. And the final would be on St. Patrick's Day. Final is going to be on St. Patrick's Day, no matter who it is. I hope, for me personally, I hope it's one of USA or Italy or both. That getting a rematch or seeing a USA Italy final would be fun. But I don't know. I just can't see. I can't see Japan or the DR not making it. One of these two, one of those two. Whether DR beats the US or not, and the US has to rematch Japan. I think Japan or DR will be in this final. DR is just too good. DR, lineup wise.
That is a great lineup.
Yeah. And Japan, I mean, they're the kings of this tournament. They have 3 tournament championships in the World Baseball Classic historically, the most. As you mentioned, DR has one in the US. Their only one being in 2017. Puerto Rico's made it to the final twice. And before the last one, they were the previous 2 runners up in the World Baseball Classic. So I would be on the lookout for Puerto Rico as well. I will say for Mexico though, who lost to Italy yesterday, definitely not what they expected, but I think they came into this tournament as more of the hunted rather than the hunters. I think they last tournament are the Team Italy of this tournament. Or they were the Team Italy of last tournament, right? I thought that team was really sneaky. They went to the semifinal and had the lead against Japan in the 9th inning. I thought they should have definitely beat Japan. Giovanni Gallegos came in and blew the lead. It almost felt scripted. It almost felt rigged the way Japan won that game. I'm not saying it was, but it felt that way. But we very easily could have had a USA-Mexico final in that tournament. So that's kind of the closest thing we've had to a Cinderella story, I think, in this tournament's history. But yeah, I mean, they definitely, you heard Benji Gill saying that he wants to rematch the U.S. more than he wants anything else in the world. I just don't think this Mexico team was as good this time around. And one of the big reasons for that, and there's no avoiding this, but there was one big player who wasn't here this time, and he's not in Major League Baseball anymore for an obvious reason. That's Julio Urias. That was a great pitcher for them last time, and obviously not a good person, and not here this time around. But Mexico just not great. They didn't really have any pitching at all. They had Andres Munoz, the closer, but they didn't really need him because they got blown out yesterday.
In a 9-1 game.
Yeah, I mean, like this wasn't a good team. Last tournament they had good players. This time Italy with Aaron Nola, all it takes is one good pitcher for Mexico. The last time it was Urias. This time Aaron Nola for Italy. All it takes is one good pitcher, and you can go pretty far. So definitely going to be watching this tournament. Moving on, tomorrow the quarterfinal games, as we're talking, USA is playing Canada, and the other game, South Korea is facing the Dominican Republic. And then those two teams, whoever are the winners of tomorrow's game, will be facing off on Sunday night. So I think that's the WBC. And Colin, let's talk about the other news in the NFL. Giants free agency.
Well, there is a law in Giants where I'm going to go on. I'm not sure. Dom, would you like to stick around for that, or do you have to go?
I have about, I can give you guys another 10, 15 minutes. Stick around.
That might not be long enough.
I also have been following Giants free agency.
Okay, so let's talk about it. So the New York Giants, obviously, first week of NFL free agency, it kicked off. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to get into the new Giants, and I'm going to start off with the first signing they made probably about half an hour into free agency started, and that was Isaiah Likely, tight end from the Baltimore Ravens. Once again, John Harbaugh gets his first guy from Baltimore to reunite with him. 3 years, $40 million. Now, if you just look at Isaiah Likely's stats, just look at his production so far, it's not exactly a sign that you would necessarily feel would warrant getting $13 million a year. I mean, his career high in yards in a season is 477. But you also have to keep in mind that for his entire career, he was the backup tight end to Mark Andrews. And obviously, Mark Andrews, one of the premier tight ends in football, he got the majority of the targets. Likely, though, I will say, if you rewatch a lot of his highlights, rewatch a lot of his tape, there's a lot of explosive playability in there, a lot of chances for, pushing the ball down the field. And listen, I've said it before myself. I'm not as high as other Giants fans on Theo Johnson. I think he's a nice talent. I think he definitely has a chance to have explosive plays, but to me, the drops are too much of an issue. Isaiah Likely doesn't have those drop problems. I think you're going to see a lot of personnel for the Giants. We're going to see 2 tight end sets, especially considering how kind of thin they are at wide receiver now, especially with Wan'Dale Robinson leaving to go to Tennessee. We were talking about it. He ended up going to the Titans. $19.5 million a year. Once again, I would have never given him that contract. I do respect Wan'Dale Robinson. I respect everything he did for us on this team. He ended up panning out a lot better than I thought he was going to. But at the end of the day, you don't pay a 5'8" slot receiver $19 million when you're the Giants. I'm sorry, you just don't. But anyway, getting Isaiah Likely, giving him that opportunity to maybe be a tight end one, at least get a lot more targets than he did last year. He only had 36 targets last year. That's going to probably double. I think this guy has potential to be an 800, 700-yard receiver for the Giants. And once again, it's huge because I'm not really sure how Theo Johnson's going to pan out. And I think Jackson Dart really does enjoy throwing to the tight ends. Really, with the offense that John Harbaugh wants to run is going to be kind of it's going to be a lot more run heavy and a lot more play action, which was where you get the tight ends involved, have the tight ends come in on a blocking scheme. So I'm excited to see Isaiah Likely come over here for the offense. And also the other big signing that was made probably just a little bit after was Tremaine Edmonds. So obviously the Giants released Bobby Okereke. They needed a guy to fill that void. And Tremaine Edmonds he's a good veteran. Listen, he's a guy who I think is a much better tackler in the open field than Okereke. He's going to hold down the defense. He was around in Buffalo. He was around in Chicago. The Bears released him as kind of a means to save up money, but listen, it's kind of hard to get, especially a young linebacker. The Giants have really struggled, really maybe outside of Micah McFadden, but even then, Micah McFadden isn't the anchor of that defense. It really has been difficult for the Giants to nail linebacker in the draft. So I think that getting one out of free agency, kind of getting Tremaine Edmonds to come in there and be that anchor behind a defensive line. He's a much better in run defense as well, which obviously with how terrible the Giants have been in run defense over the past few years, they desperately need more help there. So I think that Tremaine Edmonds having over 100 tackles in every single one of his seasons in his career over 8 years, he's a model of consistency. I think that's a good sign. And now, Moving over to some of the lesser ones, they ended up giving the richest contract in NFL history to a punter. They signed Jordan Stout to a 3-year, $12 million deal, $4 million each. He was probably the best punter in the NFL last season. He made the Pro Bowl, first team All Pro. So, I mean, the Giants, Harbaugh, definitely with that special teams background, wants to solidify that as well. And speaking of special teams, they actually seem like they're going to finally get rid of Graham Gano. And I did like Graham Gano, but oh my God, there was so many weeks where you saw yourself. We went to go see that Chiefs game, and Graham Gano once again tweaked his ankle, and they didn't have a kicker for the game. So thank God, I think we're past those days of playing actual NFL games without a kicker. We signed Jason Sanders to a 1-year deal. The money is still to be decided. So you're probably going to see an open competition in camp between him and Ben Sauls, who finished out last year. I really like what I saw to Ben Sauls. But I mean, Jason Sanders has been around for a while. He's consistent. So either way, Jason Sanders or Ben Sauls, I think regardless, one of them goes on the roster, the other one goes on the practice squad. I just don't think we're going to have this problem again with our kicking game, which is huge because it's just a stupid way to lose games. And then the couple other depth pieces in the secondary are Darius Washington, another guy from Baltimore they brought over. But then probably the one who's going to get a bit more playing time is Greg Newsome. Now, Greg Newsome had kind of a rough year last year for Jacksonville. He had a couple better years in Cleveland, kind of an up and down corner. But when you lose Cordell Flott and when you have a lot of questions in the secondary, you need to add pieces. I expect there's going to be another guy in the draft that will add to this room because it still is pretty weak. But I mean, Greg Newsome kind of is just a boomer bust pick, kind of a 1-year prove-it deal. You're not investing too much money in it. So at the end of the day, I'm not upset over it. And then finally, Patrick Ricard. The Giants have a fullback now, the big 6'3", 300-pound fullback from Baltimore. Really, when you think about fullbacks in the NFL, it's just Kyle Juszczyk, Alec Ingold, and Pat Ricard. Pat Ricard is a 6-time Pro Bowler. He kind of was a huge part of that Baltimore Ravens running identity. And once again, I think you're going to see a lot more heavy utilized and running packages. I'm really excited to see a heavy formation with 2 tight ends set, him and Cam Scatterbo in the backfield. I think it's going to be a very physical football team, especially on offense. Before Dom goes, I actually want to get his opinion. Dom, what do you think about the Giants free agency?
I think it looks good. I mean, you still need to. I mean, Evan Neal's really not the answer at guard. I think there needs to be.
Oh, I was going to get into that one. That was shocking.
Some sort of upgrade in the interior, and definitely need another corner. Maybe even another linebacker, even with Micah McFadden. And maybe Sonny Styles in the draft, but definitely, like I said, definitely another corner. But overall, I do like the moves that they made. As someone who isn't really too invested in football, but does follow it and reads Twitter and looks at all these guys like who's this? That's kind of my involvement in football right now. But I did like the moves that he made. I know that people were talking about Tyler Linderbaum, but I don't think that deal was insane that he got from Vegas. Especially for a center. I mean, I think he got $10 million more than the second and Creed Humphreys, the second highest paid center in the league. So I mean, I think you're better off just passing on Linderbaum here, and you have the space to make moves in other places. It does seem like they're done. Like they're not going to make any moves on a guard at least in free agency. Maybe they think Bo takes a step forward, or maybe they think Neal can be something, which is I think you and I both know that's not going to happen. But I mean, they definitely do look a lot more formidable, and you can already see the fingerprints of John Harbaugh on this team. So I like the direction they're going. They look like they're going to be a good team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and especially going back to Evan Neal, because that's definitely what I kind of want to get into when I talk more about the re-signing aspect. When I saw that notification yesterday, I was absolutely floored. Evan Neal was a guy who, one of the worst busts in Giants history. Let's just face it. I mean, this is a guy who came in here with Kayvon Thibodeau, 7th overall. You had that infamous quote about how the fans are burger flippers, and we, just pay to watch the Kane Evan Neal play right tackle for the Giants every Sunday. Then he gets benched. They try to move him over the guard. It doesn't work. He didn't even suit up, I think, at all this season. He just sat on the bench. So the fact that John Harbaugh thinks he can get something out of him. I don't trust it, but it goes to show you something, maybe. I mean, obviously, this was a guy who, coming out of college, is viewed as a potential top 5 pick. He was viewed as the best tackle in that class, just couldn't figure it out. But I mean, it's still stunning. I can't believe he's back. I hope that maybe finally for once, because this is kind of a bit of a throwback pull here. Eric Flowers, former first round pick for the Giants in 2014, a lot like Evan Neal, was an absolute bust at tackle. But then he goes over to Washington, moves over to guard, and he has a pretty serviceable career. So maybe that's kind of the vision we see here. In terms of the guard position, I think eventually they'll bring back Greg Van Roden to play right guard because they don't really have a lot more money to spend. Van Roden's probably going to be on a minimum contract, so they probably bring him back. The one big re-signing they made, though, they didn't get back Wan'Dale Robinson. Cordell Flott also followed Brian Dable to the Titans. They got back Jermaine Illuminor, and that's huge. We needed him back. 3 years, $39 million, $13 million per year for Jermaine Illuminor. I get he's 31 years old, but that is a steal. Like I said before, he was hands down the best free agent signing of the Joe Shane era. The fact that you have 2 tackles at each side of the offensive line that you can trust to protect Jackson Dart on both his left-hand side with Andrew Thomas and right-hand side with Illuminor is absolutely huge. So I'm so glad he's back. If you ask me honestly, between Robinson, Flott, and Illuminor, who this team needed back the most, it was Illuminor. I'm glad he's back. He seems to love to be a Giant, which, hasn't really been a common theme over these past few years. Players really taking pride in putting on the Giants uniform, but he seems to do that. I'm happy he's back, and overall, I have a positive outlook. I haven't heard from you yet, Chris. What do you think about all these moves?
Again, like Dom's saying, just nothing really like out of the box that we're really too shocked about or questioning. I mean, the only one being Neal, and that's a re-sign, see what you can get type of deal. Of course, the other players they're signing, Isaiah Likely, is prime example of it. It's a sign that we like. It's a signing we could get on board with and see why they made that signing. Of course, coming from the Ravens, you can already see, as Dom mentioned, Harbaugh kind of having that influence on the free agent signings, and I think that's the overarching theme of this that I like is putting your best foot forward, not making the crazy out of the box. Well, if it works, it works. If not, we're gonna be mad. We're gonna come after the front office. We're gonna come after them for how they're handling free agency. I think they're putting their best foot forward. I think they're making signings that we like. That if they go wrong, again, Harbaugh's influence, you live and die by his decisions, and it's just easier to tell the fans why you made these signings. It's easier to explain to your fan base why you're making these signings, and that's really all we're asking for. Is we're asking for a fan base that or a front office that can see where we're coming from and what we want, and actually making moves that look like they're gonna be putting this team in a direction to win, and not just trying to piece something together.
Yeah, no, I will say, thankfully, it really doesn't seem like there's a Kenny Galladay in this free agents class where they give out a ton of money and then it felt like, even if, say, Tremaine Edmonds gets hurt, you're not beating yourself up over that because this is a guy who, once again, had 100 tackles each of his first 8 seasons. Isaiah Likely is a very smart signing as well because it's only logical that this is a guy who has big playability, and you give him more targets, his production is only going to go up. So there's real logic behind each of these signings, which I do like, and you really see kind of the different approach versus Joe Shane just throwing money at whatever stuck last offseason, just handing out contracts to Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland, and none of them worked out. So you do see kind of already a difference in approach, and this is what happens when you bring in Don Aponte as well with the salary cap management and when you have Harbaugh's experience. So definitely a change of direction. And once again, I can't really comment on what we're going to see next season, but I do like, at least initially, the direction they're going. The draft's going to be huge, but especially Dom was talking about Sonny Styles. Bringing in Tremaine Edmonds doesn't force you to draft for need. Doesn't force you to go for Sonny Styles just because you need a linebacker. So I kind of like the idea of having more flexibility. I think they gave themselves that here.
I agree.
I'll just add one more thing before I go because I do have to leave. In the drafts, I just want to say a name that I don't think is not linked to the Giants, but I have watched a few draft analysis videos, and I think he would be not a bad fit. Spencer Fano, I think he's a tackle. Oh God, I can't remember.
No, I believe you're right.
Yeah. But he has shorter arms and could move to center or be an interior lineman. And he's probably, Malinois or him are probably the best linemen in the offensive linemen in the draft class. but he would definitely be someone who would be available at 5. I don't know if they decide they want to move back. But he would be an interesting fit. You could watch out for an interior O-lineman. It's really kind of a wild card on what Harbaugh's going to go for, because I know a lot of people talked about Caleb Downs and liking a premium safety like he did in Baltimore with Kyle Hamilton. But with Downs and his injury issues, you don't really know. So, I mean, we'll see. Caleb Downs is definitely the most talented player, one of the most talented players in the draft class. But with the injury problems and the positional value, it's a little bit more of a tricky. And Sonny Styles is a monster of a human being, so it'll be hard to pass up on him as well. But we'll see what they end up deciding at the end of the day. But I do like where the direction of the team. You could already see like the creativity and in the roster building with the 2 dynamic tight ends with Likely and Theo Johnson. Even though I know you don't like Johnson because of his drops, but I'm
not sold yet.
Offense that they have, high octane, I would say.
Colin's just not sold.
I'm just not sold on Theo Johnson yet. I hope he proves me wrong, but I've seen a lot of talented tight ends who just can't catch the football, and that's a problem. Evan Ingram.
Oh man, I forgot about him. I forgot about Ingram.
I didn't think I was going to mention Evan Ingram on this show today, but there you go.
You got your Evan Ingram mentioning.
Well, Dom, thank you once again for joining.
Next time.
Of course, anytime. Always a pleasure.
You have a great day.
Take care.
All right, I'll see you guys. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thanks, man.
So,
It's
anything
Dominic
else?
Noto.
Dominic Noto. Anything else you want to add on the Giants before we move over to the NBA for once?
No, I mean you guys pretty much covered it. We like the direction they're going in. They're taking risks, but not stupid risks. They're taking smart risks. They're making smart choices and decisions that have high upside, but if they don't work, oh well, we believe in this front office, and it's not going to set this franchise back years. And you touched on it with the Galladay one, and of course, this is a big one, but the Daniel Jones decision where
that's the pinnacle of Giants free agency right there.
They had their reasons for doing that. But
which, before you get into that, by the way, he just got another huge contract from the Colts. So look at Daniel Jones. He's the parasite who keeps on coming back. Just that agent, Daniel Jones's agent. Let me tell you, he knows how to weasel as much money as he can out of.
Yeah, I mean, he's
NFL agents. Let me tell you, coming off an Achilles injury, torn Achilles. I mean, I get he was great last year, but once again, it just feels a lot like what happened to us.
Nobody deserves that money more than Daniel Jones.
I still like Daniel Jones for the record. I do, but I don't know if I'd pay him whatever the Colts just gave him. I think it was $90 million.
Again, something about this guy. He's just the most pedestrian looking guy. He had a great season last year, but even throughout his career, I mean, this is one of the richest people probably in football.
Yeah.
And he's just so pedestrian. He's just a guy. And yeah, he was good last year, but nothing that he did with the Giants would scream, a long 4-year contract that sets the franchise back years.
January 15th, 2023.
I mean,
the day that will live in infamy.
That was a great day, but I mean, again, how much of that was the Vikings? Like, I don't know. Like it is what it is. I mean, it's funny, it's interesting, but it wasn't so funny when it happened and set this franchise back, and seeing Saquon go to the Eagles, of course. But they had their reasons. They had their reasons for doing that, right? They felt they needed to do that and give him that contract and figure out if this was the guy. But again, big risk, and it did nothing for the organization, and he didn't even end. Finish out his contract here, right? He got released, so he's none of these signings that they're making this year are going to do that, right? If it doesn't work this first year, oh well, run it back next year, or not run it back, but run back maybe the front office, run back Harbaugh the following year, and make some more better decisions. It's nothing that's going to hurt this organization more than their lack of production on the field if they don't produce. So I do like it overall. But let's talk about this game, because this was a real shock.
Yeah, so we have not talked about the NBA in general on this show in ages, it feels like, but this is the one time where I feel it's appropriate, and I think you would agree as well, because I think one of the most iconic records in sports has been the single game score in record in the NBA. Will Chamberlain scoring 100 points. I think for years people have said this might be the most unbreakable record across all sports because you figure just the pure stamina and the wit it takes to score 100 points in an NBA game. And then obviously Kobe Bryant in 2006 scoring 81 points. I mean, you think about how central that is to his legacy and his lasting impact on basketball. The fact that he was a guy who was a shoot first player, kind of took a lot of that, the Mamba mentality, took it a lot from Michael Jordan, just giving 100% effort on every single game, every single play. So no one really ever imagined that this 81-point record would ever be broken, it seemed like, because there's so many talented players. Like you saw Luka Doncic hit 73, Joel Embiid, Devin Booker, a lot of guys hit 70, but for so long it was a question over who would finally hit 80 again. And for you would have to imagine to be a guy like Luka or even a Wemby or just one of the more prolific offensive scoring players. Well, let me tell you, the guy who ended up breaking this record, scoring the second most points in NBA history, came from one of the most unexpected places ever. Because if you asked me before the season started, name 50 NBA players who would drop 83 points in a game this season, Bam Adebayo would have not been one of those 50 players. And I'm going to preface this by saying that Bam Adebayo is a great player. Three-time All-Star. If you think about it, was the number 2 option on 2 teams that went to the NBA Finals in 2020 and 2023 with the Miami Heat. But this is a guy whose all-time career high in points per game is 20.4 points per game. He's a center, plays down low. He's developed more of a three-point shot. But his previous career high was 41 points. He doubled that against the Washington Wizards. He scored 31 points in the first quarter. He had 40 by halftime, 62 points in the third quarter. And you saw Eric Spoelstra just say, listen, I mean, let's face it too, Bam Adebayo probably isn't going to have a night like this again. Let's try to make history. And it was, and you were watching it with me as well, that those last 10 minutes were unlike anything I've ever seen in basketball. You saw the Miami Heat intentionally foul to kind of preserve more possessions for Bam. You saw him get triple team, quadruple teams, but he still managed to eke it out, get those final free throws, and forever in history, Bam Adebayo's name is going to be in the record books. Second most points in NBA history. And there's a lot of debate over whether or not it's ethical or was this, tarnishes the game and the history of the NBA. I don't think so, because if you take a look at Kobe's performance, the Lakers are up by 15 points in that game with a couple minutes left. And most of Kobe's final points came from the free throw line. He just wanted to hit 80 points. So I don't really fault Bam Adebayo for going it because, like I said, once again, this is a guy who probably isn't going to make the Hall of Fame. This is a guy who could have gone and forgotten in basketball history. But once again, this is the type of record, this is the type of game that puts you in the history books forever. And regardless, Bam Adebayo is now has the only person alive who has scored 80 points in a basketball game. He has scored the most ever points in a televised basketball game ever. This is groundbreaking stuff. Just really, I can't even think about what a comparison would be of this game to any other sport. It truly is maybe the most remarkable and astonishing single game sports performance I have ever seen.
Maybe Daniel Jones tossing for the most touchdown passes in a game.
Bam Adebayo is better than Daniel Jones. Let's face it.
Dave Gettleman might not agree. I think, it was a phenomenal game. And again, I'm not the biggest basketball fan, you know that, but when I know Bam Adebayo, I've known him for a while. I've heard he's been obviously very notable player in this league for a while, very reputable player, great career, and again, a very steady center for the Miami Heat for quite a few years now, but never the type of guy I would associate breaking that record. That's just not his style, as you mentioned. That's just not his style of play. And so seeing him do that was a shock to me, even as someone who doesn't really watch basketball. So that was definitely something that I wasn't expecting. I was really into it, and I'm happy for him. I love seeing records get broken. That's one that I wanted to see get broken, and I'm just I didn't listen to what he had to say after the game, but I'm sure he had good things to say about Kobe breaking that record. I don't know if you heard anything.
Yeah, he grew up idolizing Kobe Bryant. So like most kids, obviously having a chance to break that record, it's pretty special. But so you're not in the camp of people who are kind of shaming him for going for it, especially kind of the way the game played out at the end there, because I saw a lot of people were criticizing the Heat for the way they handled that and trying to get him to the line, like manufacturing that. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm just I can't even imagine what that's like, right? Like
Yeah, because for the
idolizing a
Wizards,
player, idolizing. Wait, I'm sorry.
but even from the perspective of the Wizards, right? Like trying to stop a guy from scoring 80 points on you, but they still keep bringing him to the line. Because, like I said, a lot of people, I guess, a lot of Kobe Bryant fans were kind of upset with how the Heat handled that and saying
Oh,
that he
yeah,
shouldn't have
yeah,
gone for the
yeah.
record. I mean, I don't agree with it. Do you?
No, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, I think records are meant to be broken, right?
Mhm.
Records are meant to be broken. Now, yeah, sure. If you're the Wizards, you should be quadruple teaming him because you should want to limit as much scoring as possible. And if he scores 80 points on you, again, just from the aspect of trying to limit tanking as best as possible. That's not why they're doing it. Because if they wanted to tank, which teams have done that in the past, if teams want to tank, they will tank, and they can. But from the aspect of just very simply trying to play the most competitive version of basketball you want to, this guy scores that many points on you as he did throughout that game. Sure, you're gonna quadruple team because you want to limit the scoring and try to win the game. I put that in quotations because it's like it was impossible at that point. They weren't going to win, and fine, you want to see him get the record, but you want him to earn that record, right? And records are meant to be broken, but they're also supposed to be earned. Now, what I'll throw to you is there's someone who happens to go to Iona, who happens to live in North Hall, 4th floor, who happens to be named Peter. He said something that I thought was really interesting. He said, I was talking about the game, and he said, yeah, that was okay, but they were all free throws. And
That is a popular
Yeah.
debate because he had the most free throws made and attempted of all time,
Right.
broke the record. So
yeah,
I don't know. Like the NBA has kind of shifted to that more. Like you see people complain about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander being a foul baiter and all these guys who draw fouls, and it's just the way the game is played now. So obviously you're gonna have that debate. But listen, if the Wizards near the end of that game, I saw the way they were guarding him. Those were fouls. They just were. Like if you quadruple team a guy and you have your arms wrapped around him, it's gonna be a foul. So obviously you would rather it be, I guess, more ethical the way that a lot of people are saying online, but he still scored these points. Like he was scoring them. He was hot from the 3-point line. He was scored in the post. Like you don't get 80 points by accident. You get 80 points because you were having a generational hot streak of a game, and that's what he was. You don't score. They weren't quadruple teaming him for the first 3 quarters, and the guy had 62 points. So it's not like I don't agree in this aspect that it's fake or it shouldn't count. But like, yeah, obviously the free throws added to it, but that's just part of what the game is now. So
absolutely,
it's just,
yeah. And I was saying, I'm like, those points, those are still points, right? They are.
I mean, if he made all his free throws, he could have had 90.
Yeah, he didn't make every single one. So I mean, you know, I get it. I get it, right? It's free throws are obviously going to be easier, and when you're quadruple teamed and you start chucking it, then yeah, like it's harder to do that. But at the same time, Washington should have been a little more careful with that with those fouls. But overall, still a great game. I am happy for them. Like I said, records are meant to be broken, and they're also meant to be earned. So I do give credit to the Wizards for trying to preserve that record as best as they could, and playing the strongest form of basketball. Now, if like I said, if they were like hypothetically, if they were like trying to tank, no, they wouldn't do that. Like they would have let them. They would have let them beat them. But again, if you want to be, you know, I think they were trying to preserve Kobe's record, but yeah, sure, from a competitive basketball standpoint, they were trying to keep the game close. Guy scores 80 points on you, of course you're gonna try to limit him from scoring any more than that, so you can have a chance to win. But so I do like that it was at least a competitive nature. It was earned, and he was taken out as soon as he broke the record, which was cool. It was a good moment.
There you go. Our first NBA segment in a while.
Yeah.
Who knows when the next one comes? Who knows if it ever comes?
I mean, maybe.
Maybe for the playoffs. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so
For
I
sure.
think that's all we have to talk about here. There was obviously a lot we wanted to get into. We're off next week for spring break,
Yeah.
so 2-week hiatus. We'll see. Hopefully USA can pull off a WBC. Hopefully the Giants start to get their draft plan in order and we start to see better things there. But that's going to do it for this episode. We'll catch you all in 2 weeks. Alongside Chris, I'm Colin. Thank you all. Goodbye.